Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kratau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Kalpita Pachi, please put your video on. So, just recounting back a little bit to last time, we spoke about the fact that in the Upanishadic vision, one's goal cannot be set too low. So there is the hitatara, and the hitatama. That is the parama lakshya. The goal is set for the ultimate goal, and the ultimate goal in the vision of the Upanishad is to make each individual be full and complete, to let each individual know that they are full and complete in and of themselves. There are no external dependencies. So this sense of, if you remember, the tripti that we spoke about last time, Sankusha Vishayai Triptihi Seyam Tripti Nirankusha. This Nirankusha Tripti, this Tripti that is not focused on any external dependency, this is the Paramalakshya, this is the ideal of the Upanishad. So we were sidetracked towards the last time, but I wanted to give you an instance from one of the minor Upanishads. So, we spoke a lot about the 10 major Upanishads, the one on which there is Shankara Bhashya. And also we spoke a little bit last time about the Svetashvatara Upanishad, which is not one of the 10 Dashopanishad, as Ishakena Kato Prashna, that list, but it also has a Shankara Bhashyam. It will not be considered minor. But there's another minor Upanishad called the Kaushitaki Upanishad. In that, there's a very nice story that talks about this Paramalakshya Hitatama. So the story is of a great king called Pradardana. Pradardana is a great king. He's a king. He's a warrior king. He's also a yogi. He's a amogha, which means he's unfailing, always conquers in battle. And Indra knew this. So this is in some Satya Yuga when the devas could summon the mortals for battle. So Indra had, of course, continuously thousands of problems with all the asuras and all that sangharsha that always happens. And whenever he has any problem, he was in the habit of just calling Pradardana, who would come with his enemies, with his troops, and destroy Indra's enemies. So one time Indra had a really serious problem and he called Pradardana, and Pradardana, as usual, unfailing as he was, he came with all his armies and he did Indra's work for him. So Indra was so happy. It was a very special occasion. So Indra, after the battle was finished, when Pradardana came and did prarthana that he is going back to Jiva Loka, is going back to the Manushya Loka, Indra said, no, don't go just yet. Come. He did Swagatam of Pradardana, and he was so happy. He made Pradardana sit next to him in the gaddi of the king of the Devas. Indra is the Devendra, king of the Devas. He made him sit next to him very lovingly, and he said, Pradardana, I am so happy. You have accomplished such a great thing. I am just in the best mood ever, and I'm in the mood to give. So I want to give you something. So ask for something, and I'll give you what you want. Can you imagine? Indra is the lord of all the devas. He's asking you, give what you want. But Pradardana was not an easy cookie. He said, Indra, you might well be in the mood to give, but what about my mood? I am not in the mood to take anything. That's not my mood right now. So if you want to give, you give what you want. Now, the word for giving such a boon in Sanskrit is vara. Vara. Vara comes from the vridatu vrinoti, to choose. When you get a vara, if somebody gives you a vara, you have to do the varanam. You have to choose. Just like, swayam vara means I choose by myself. So you need to do, like you do the varana of the bride. In the marriage, what happens? The bridegroom, the bride does the varana, and the bridegroom does the pani grahana. So like that, you have to choose. And here is Indra saying, you choose what you want, and Pradardana is saying, you give what you want. So Indra said, sorry, buddy, it doesn't work like that. I am in the mood, and I have just told you, you can choose what you want. So you have to choose something. Pratardana is not so easily swayed. So he said, uh, for, listen, forget it. I'm not in the mood to choose. So if you don't really want me, you don't want to give what you want, and you insist on my choosing, then let's forget about this vara. It doesn't bother me. I'm always ready to help you. Don't worry. No need for a vara. No, no, no. Indra said it can't be like that. If that happens and you leave now, my words would have gone in vain. So so I can't just let the vara drop like that. So let me give you. I am going to give you. If he said, okay, you give whatever is the best for me. Hitatama, hitatama, give what is best for me. So then Indra said, okay, what happens is when that moment comes, when that time it's Pratardana and Indra. Indra wants to give, there is a bit of a story, and Pratardana says, you give what is best for me. In that asking, at the moment for asking what is best for him, instantly Pratardana and Indra become Guru and Sishya. That suddenly the relationship changes. Those relationships often change the moment there's a samvada. Samvada means a dialogue between a guru and a shishya, and a crucial point comes between two people. A crucial point comes where there is an exchange between two people. They suddenly become the guru and the shishya. This happened in the Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna was regarding Krishna as merely his chauffeur, his chariot driver. But suddenly, when he said, Yat Shreyasya Nishchitam Bruhi Tanme, immediately Arjuna became the Sishya and Krishna became the Guru. Similarly, in the Kathopanishad, which we have seen, when Nachiketas goes in front of Niyama and says, Anyat Dharmat, Anyatra Dharmat, Yat Tat Pashyati Tadvada, immediately Yama becomes the Guru and Nachiketas becomes the Sishya. So in this moment, Pratardana became the Sishya and Indra became the Guru. And Indra said, okay, if you want what is Hitatama, Mam Vijanihi, know me. Now, know me. Pratardana, Indra is sitting in front of him. Know him. Pratardana knows Indra as a body. He knows him as a divine force, but he does not know him as his own self. He does not know the Atman. So, Mam Vijanihi, and there immediately unfolds the development between Indra and Pratardana, first in the Adhyatma form, then Indra reveals himself in the Virat form, and just like in the Gita, step by step, eventually is revealed in the form of Purushottama. So this is the way of Vedanta. The revelation is not in one shot. It happens in an unfoldment where the Sishya walks a little bit and the Guru walks a little bit. And this way God reveals himself to the sincere seeker. So as a seeker, you have to understand and place the store of your faith in this unfoldment. Then you will understand that in this process, all that freedom that you are earning for, all that fulfillment that you want, you will get. So obviously, as a beginning, we are very focused on protecting this body. And that's obviously very much required. Deho devalaya prokta. This is for our hita. This is for our good. This is why we have the police, the doctors, the hospitals, all to protect our body. But then we also have to protect and nurture the mind. So the society stands up several institutions, colleges, schools, universities, psychiatric support by which you can solve and address your mental problems, just like you can do with physical health. This is the hitatara. This is even more for your good. But what about the Atma? Who will care and nurture the Atma? For that, there are no institutions. And in fact, if there is such an institution, it is called Guru. You cannot give any other name for the person or the institution. And even that Guru cannot give it to you. You have to struggle. You have to put in the effort. And no matter what a great Guru you have, and no matter what such a Guru may say, without your active engagement, you cannot get the benefit. Hence, the point of doing sadhana. You cannot blame anyone else. You cannot blame the lack of resources because you have been given that in a human body. And you have to therefore put emphasis on sadhana or yoga, which is what we've been seeing. So yoga is an enabler. It helps you get ready and strong enough and alert enough to receive the knowledge of who you are. So in the analogy of the bow and the arrow, we spent some time saying Sharavat Tanmayo Bhavet. Once you get that power and the correct orientation, then the arrow can fly. And then it will be more likely to hit the target and merge into it. So the orientation is so tied up to the entire being of the sadhaka. And the notion of God, the so-called God notion, and the bhakti towards God, the intense love for God, is closely linked to it. And it's very important for someone seeing the Upanishad for the first or perhaps even the second time, I wonder, wait a minute, how does God fit into this? So Yajnavalkya was a great king, and he had two wives, Maitreyi and Katyayani. Great king, infinite riches, etc. But one day he said, this is it. I want now to give up the kingdom and I want to retire in the seclusion of sannyasa ashrama. I want to take sannyasa, so I'm leaving. He called his two wives in front of him and said, I have got so many possessions. I'm going to divide it up among the two of you so you all can be very happy for the rest of your life, and I am going to go. So Katyayani, there's no mention of what Katyayani did. She apparently must have taken her half and counted all the cattle and the gold and said, okay, itna mera hai. She must have done that. Maitreyi was not interested. Maitreyi said, wait, I'm not interested. You're not interested? What does it mean? I'm a huge king. I'm giving you all these things. No. You see, you are my husband. I love and respect you so much. Yet you are giving me, you have an infinite kingdom and you're giving me half of that kingdom for all your riches to me. And you are saying you are going away for something. That means the thing that you're going away for is more valuable than this thing that you're giving me. So I want that thing. I don't want this. I want that thing. And when Maitreyi said this, Yajnavalkya was moved. He said, I have always loved you a lot as my wife, and now I love you even more. But instantly, in Maitreyi asking that, she became the Sishya, and instantly again he became the Guru. And she said, what is that thing? He said, Atma vare drishtavya, shrotavyo, mantavyo, nididhasitavyo. He gave her the Brahmopadesha there in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. This story of Maitreyi and Yajnavalkya comes. So, and in that, in fact, before I tell you about, I want to tell you about Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, Dididhasitavyo. But before I tell you about that, he explained in that exchange between Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi, what is this love that people feel towards the husband, towards the wife? Don't take it so simply. It is not that you love the wife or you love the husband. Actually, everybody has only one object of supreme love. Everybody only has one Parama Premaspada. There is only one place of supreme love, that Atma is the Parama Premaspada. It is for the sake of that Atma that you love the wife, not for the sake of the wife. It is for the sake of the Atma. What is the sake of the Atma? It doesn't mean I am doing it for somebody else's sake. What you are feeling when you say I love you to somebody is you are feeling the love of that infinite source of love, which is the Atma. Now, if you take that logically and you say, what is God and what is this Bhagavad Bhakti? If you are feeling that infinite love towards Bhagavan, if that you are feeling that infinite love towards the Ishta Devata, then know that you are beginning to identify with the Ishta Devata with your Atma. And hence the transformation of what may have begun as a religious matter into a supremely spiritual relationship with yourself is when you begin to realize the Ishta is the Parama Premaspada. But for that, the love that you feel to the Ishta must overcome all bounds. That much love that it becomes, you begin to wonder, what is this that I'm feeling so much love for? And it must be me, because that's the only thing to which I feel that love. In any case, here he says to her, Atma va are drishtavya, shrotavyo, mantavyo, nidhidhyasitavya. These are three important aspects in the Jnana Marga: Shravana, Manana, and Nidhidhyasana. These are all technical terms in Vedanta, so don't be clouded by common word meanings of these words, and let us try to understand what these words mean in Vedanta. Shravana. Shravana is normal meaning, means to hear. But in Vedanta, it is not only being taught as the sadhana for Atma Darshana, but it is the only sadhana, Shravana. So if there are doubts about what you heard in the Shravana, you go to Manana. And then if Manana needs to ripen and give its fruit, you go to Nidhyasana. But Shravana is the sadhana. Shravana is to determine what the truth is about Atma, who you are. Now that is who you are. It's not going to change. It is called Nitya Upalabdhi. You always have it, but you know nothing of it. And then you learn about it from Shravana, and that gets set as the framework for knowing ourselves. So let me tell you a little story to exemplify this. It is said that, when Charles de Gaulle, when he was a great president of France and a general, and he was going to inspect the army barracks, and he went and he was inspecting the storehouse where all the ammunition and the gunpowder is kept. He went for a big inspection. Then he walked outside the room, and it was a bit of a cold day, and he came out in the field outside that, and he felt the inclination to have a smoke. So he took out his cigarette and he took out the matches, but he was so close to explosives that there was a big notice board in that area that said no smoking, because there's a danger that the sparks will carry in the wind, etc. So the guy took out his cigarette and matches and were about to light up, and people all around him were seeing him and saying, "Arey, what is this guy doing? The notice is so clear and it's so dangerous. Why is he doing and blatantly against the warning in the board? Is he kind of testing us to see what we do?" But he couldn't tell. The guy actually lit up and started having a couple of puffs. Then somebody had the courage to go up to him and said, "Sir, please don't smoke." And Charles de Gaulle laughed and said, yeah, I know, it's a bad habit. My wife is trying to convince me to give it up for a long time, but I cut down a lot. But once in a while, if I have a puff or two, it's not going to me. So don't worry about it. So he took that remark. He has done the Shravana of that remark in the hearing way, but has taken it entirely out of context. And he's taken his own predisposition, which is hearing so much nagging from his wife and doctor about his health. And his mind is stuck in that rut, because that was a constant upadesha he was getting for his hita. He had forgotten that where he was standing and couldn't understand the context in which this guy is telling him don't smoke. So he did not understand the tatparya. Tatparya means the relevance to the particular context. So when you're standing like this next to the Shastra and the Guru tells you in the Hitokti, don't make objects an obsession. And you say, yeah, this Guru Dadiwala is saying all this, but this is the age of opportunity. There are so many possibilities, and he's telling me some old-fashioned thing. Once in a while, engaging with objects is okay. And like that, putting a little salt in the atta to make the roti more tasty, adding a little untruth once in a while is okay. All this is fine, but you're not considering who is giving the hitopadesha. It is the Guru and the Shastra, and you're drowning in the sea of Bhoga, standing right next to the explosive words of the Shastra. You are not able to have Tatparya Nirnaya. When the person is saying don't get obsessed with objects, you are not understanding it in saying what meaning do objects have in context of the Shastra, and what is this warning you're getting in the path that is being indicated by the Shastra. So, on the topics of Atma, what is Mukti, what is Brahman, what are these words, what is their meaning, what is the relevance, what is their context in my life, to grasp all this and get it settled in your mind in the context of you and your life, that is called Shravana. Okay, that is the aim of Shravana. And what would have happened? Suppose De Gaulle realized what he was being told. What would have happened once he realized? Once he realized, the moment he realized, he would have immediately put off his cigarette, right? Because he understands the problem. There is a explosive thing. Similarly, the moment Shravana has taken effect, the moment you have fully understood Tatparya, at that moment you are free from all work. The binding aspect of work is released immediately. So just by the Shravana, a person is able to save himself from the captivity of life. But the problem is, it is not such a rosy picture. Everybody knows, people who go to Vedanta lectures know especially. Somebody is speaking and everything seems so crystal clear, Tatparya crystal clear for a second. I feel like the moment this class is over, I'm going to go out and my life is going to be transformed. But the moment you enter Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, into the field of work, you are quickly enveloped in a fog of confusion. Next, after 4 hours, if I ask you to summarize the lecture, you will not be able to do it. Things that were so clear then are not clear anymore. So this map of how to navigate life, which seemed so clear in the class, so clear in the presence of your guru, is totally unclear. So manana is required. Manana is needed when there is a thing that, in spite of knowing it, you don't know it. It happens in mundane matters as well as spiritual matters. You know how to drive a car because you've been doing it, but you can't teach driving to somebody else. Or you know how to ride a bicycle, but you can't teach that to somebody else. You know how to breathe, but you can't control your breath unless you have some training. You know perfectly well what it means for a thing to be dead and for a thing to be alive. But if I ask you to tell me deep detail what exactly life is, you will have doubts because you have to start carefully examining it. And when you examine it, doubts come. So in Manana, you dig deeper and deeper and you uncover more and more doubts and exactly resolve every doubt. And then you cogitate and think deeply about it. And sometimes even that cogitation and deep thinking itself is a process by which doubts get resolved. So in this, there are all kinds of educational institutions set up. In reality, we know everything. We in fact know Brahman, we know Atma. That's what the Taittiriya Upanishad says. They're all inside us. But what we need to do is have manana in order to bring that knowledge to the foreground. So even Shravana you can't do externally. In a way, life itself does Shravana for you. The Lord, by becoming a guru, gives you the instruction. So by this Shravana and Manana, deeper aspects, deeper levels are brought out into the foreground and made clear and applied to various aspects of life. And in fact, that guru that is going to help you with Shravana and Manana is not necessarily some man with a dadi that you have to go and see occasionally or rarely or whatever. The world with all its conflicts is meant for manana. You take that as the gift of Vedanta. Instead of complaining the world is giving you pain, treat that pain as the trigger for real manana. The problems and the crises that life puts you through force you to consider things in a deeper way. So when you consider things in a deeper way, you examine carefully your assumptions and the truths that you think that you know, and therefore you're obliged to do manana. So the world repeatedly puts crises in front of you, and in dealing with those crises, you're constrained, and then you're forced to self-purify. So they say that suffering is purifying because it brings out what is the impurity inside you, that confusion, that lack of clarity. Suffering puts it in focus and helps you get a certain clarity of perspective over all those things. And in fact, there is no other way to regard the world. In Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavan says clearly in one place, of course, the world is a troublesome thing. It is not permanent. It is not giving joy. The world cannot be permanent, cannot give joy. It is anityam asukham. So if you see the anityam asukham lokam, what are you supposed to do? Cry? No. Anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. If you, Bhagavan says, if you want to do bhajana of me, the best thing, gift I could give you is the anityam asukham lokam. I have given you the anityam asukham lokam. If I gave you, like the devas, if I gave you nityam sukham lokam, there is, devas do not do shravana, manana, nididhyasana. Devas do not do, cannot do sadhana. Devas do not get liberation. They are just enjoying the past punya until the show is up, until their ticket is expired, and then back to mrityu loke. So anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvama. Instead, if you fight with life as it is and try to eliminate suffering, which cannot ever happen fully, you will get frustrated and start thinking that this proves that there is no God helping me. But if you realize that the Lord is the Atma, hence the one who says there is no God helping me, that is the so-called God. So all life comes to us as a question mark, an opportunity for self-examination. And this results in manana. And if you are in a crisis, the crisis makes you go to the very root of the assumptions that you have there. So that gives you the ability, the crisis, therefore, every crisis gives you the ability to ask yourself the difficult questions clearly that you've never asked yourself, that are hiding under the surface. So, you do sometimes go to a class. And again, this quite happens normally, even in mundane things. When you're being taught something in a university or any subject you're studying, if somebody teaches you in a very glib way and gives you a lecture, one step follows the other. You can listen to the lecture A to Z and you say, I understood everything. The lecture was totally clear to me. So what happens? How does the teacher make your lack of clarity apparent to you? So you think you know, but actually you don't know. So if I give a class on mathematics or something like this, differential equations, I teach the whole differential equation. I say, I have taught you differential equations. Do you understand? Everybody shakes their head. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understood. Suppose that's the end of the class. Then this is a ridiculous class. So in the mathematics class, you give a problem set. And you say, you shake your head, and then you start the first problem and you can't do it. So you can't do it, which means, so you have to go back to the notes and try to find where is the answer in the notes. But the answer is not there because the answer involves actually understanding something that was taught and applying it to the problem. So you ask a friend, who is friend? You not ask your next friend because he's as dumb as you when it comes to understanding the class. So you'll ask somebody who knows a little bit more. So you ask somebody who knows a little bit more, they'll give you some hints. So somehow you crack the problem set, it's finished, you turn it in. Then you come to differential equations. How was the problem set? It was good. Did you understand differential? Yes, sir, I totally understand differential equation. So then the exam. In the exam, you're given 50 minutes, limited time. You can't ask anybody. You have to pass the exam. And of course, a disaster because you just barely managed to scrape through those problem sets. And there were some lingering doubts that you didn't resolve enough, but you resolved just enough to solve the problem at hand. And then when the exam came, that same problem is now being asked in a slightly deeper way, and you didn't go there. You knew there was something there, but you didn't have to deal with it to solve the problem on the homework. So you did deal with it. You left it, and unfortunately, the thing came up in the exam, and so you're in trouble. Or even worse, the exam asks a novel problem, and you're like, what is this? Like, how would I have thought to ask about this? Because it didn't come on the homework at all. It didn't come on the homework, but it was a problem hiding in the lecture. It was hiding in the lecture. You didn't pry open the lecture carefully, layer by layer. You didn't take it apart. So didn't you take it apart enough? You didn't get to that level of hitting a problem. So for the perfectly prepared mind, imagine that you are of a superior intelligence and your superior analytic ability to quickly see through layers of complexity and quickly identify all the problems. If your whole mind is like that, super duper good, and there are, by the way, scientists whose minds are like that, their experience of a lecture is entirely different from your lecture. They are also nodding. In fact, they may not be nodding their head. They may be puzzled. You are not puzzled because you think you understood everything. This is an easy lecture. I understood the whole thing. That other guy is puzzled. He's puzzled because he's noticed problems that he can't understand. As the class is going, he is noticing 3 levels below what is the problem and wondering, my God, how do I understand that? You're not. You're looking at the superficial thing and hitting it. So when that person goes to the problem set, he solves it in 5 seconds. You are struggling with the problem set, and that guy has a chance of actually even solving the exam in the first shot. When it comes to life, it is the exact same thing. There are people who are prepared with that level of sophistication by a lot of karmas that have been done in previous lives. Their spiritual orientation and their spiritual sharpness is because of preparation on many previous janmas, just more. So when they hear Shravana, when they do Shravana, when they hear the words of the Upanishad, it hits them very, very deep. It hits them at a level that it cannot hit you because you're not prepared to take it in at that level. So you can't compare how is that person able to advance so far spiritually and why I'm not able to advance so far is because they are doing manana already in the 5th order manana. You are still struggling. You came out of the class with a big smile and ate the laddu prasadam and said, I totally understood today's Vedanta class. They're very happy. And that man went back home with a very furrowed brow because he was trying to understand something. He is not so smart. I'm very smart. But it's not like that. That when life's question homework set comes in front of that man, he'll be able to address it. You might not be able to address it. So this idea of going very deep and really understanding what is it that is manana, and then after that there is nididhyasana. So with Shravana and Manana, you have taken the words of the Guru and the Shastra. You've understood their tatparya. You've asked questions. You've allowed life and your mind to work on them and to go explore them in deeper levels. And now you are able to be in some way having some idea of this truth that the Upanishad is telling you about who you are. And you're ready to feel your own Purnata. It is not an outside statement. The statement you are ready to own and acknowledge it yourself. That ability to feel that fullness, this state, which is achieved through nididhyasana. So there's a story of the nididhyasana in the Puranas. So many beautiful stories in the Puranas. So if you go in the north, of course, in the north, the going in the north direction has always been something that is um, indicated in the sense of going towards the Guru, because the Guru in the Vedantic literature is often referred to as Dakshina Murti, who's facing the south. So if he's facing the south, naturally you have to go to the north to be able to approach him, at least to approach him from the front. Of course, you can approach it from the back, but from the front, if you want to approach, you have to go towards the north. So in the north, even in Kalidasa's major poem starts, Uttarasyam, Dishi Devatatma, Himalayas are there. In that, there is the Badrika Ashrama, Badri Narayana, Badrika Ashrama. In that, there is the great Narayana himself in meditation. Narayana as who? As Narayana Rishi. In fact, Narayana Rishi is paired with another Rishi called Nara. Nara and Narayana. They are in a Jugalbandi of meditation in Badrika Ashrama. So many years. Nara Narayana, who are in that Mauna Samvada in Badrika Ashrama, descended as Arjuna and Krishna. So the Samvada that is happening in the Bhagavad Gita is a continuation of a Samvada between Nara and Narayana. That's why Arjuna has the adhikara to ask those questions that he asked. 60,000 years he has meditated in Badrika Ashrama with Narayana Rishi. So there is Narayana Rishi doing tapasya. This is Bharata. This is India, the land in which even the gods have to do tapasya. Just as they have to do, Indra also has his job. Indra's job is to disturb the tapasya. Not because, like they say in Amar-Chitra Katha, because he is greedy or jealous or afraid. That's just his job. He has to test if the tapasya is valid or not. That's his job. They have to do tapasya. Indra's job is to check it out. Is it real tapasya or not? So Indra sees this Narayana Rishi doing tapasya and he says, okay, I have to get busy. I have to send my armies to try to distract or attract him. Who are the armies? Armies are the Apsaras. Why are they called Apsaras? Do we know why they're called Apsaras? Maybe not. You don't know why they're called Apsaras. Because they were born out of Apa, which is, they were born out of the Samudra Mantana. So when they were born out of the Apa, they are called Apsaras. So he sent them, and the three major Apsaras, absolutely stunning, beautiful Apsaras, Rambha, Tilottama, Pratichi, all these beautiful Apsaras, they said, you please go and you distract this Narayana Rishi. So they are very careful and very sly. They stood from a distance to see Narayana Rishi. And they wanted to stand behind with a deep meditation. So they said, be such a deep meditation, let us strategize on how to disturb him. Standing far away, and that, anklet made a light sound. And they found, although they are standing far away and their anklets are making a light sound, Narayana Rishi opened his eyes. And he said, this is not going to be so difficult. This guy is not even meditating so deeply. We are not even anywhere nearby. He's opened his eyes. And not only is he opening his eyes, he is not trying to avoid the distraction. He is calling them, Devi, who are you? Please come. So they are whispering among them. So this is going to be so easy. This guy has no idea, and we are going to disturb him. So they came running and caught his feet and says, "Oh, Mahatma Ji, we are here to serve you." And look, we're whispering among each other. He wants us to come near him. This is going to be so easy. Came and they held his feet. So Narayana Rishi smiled. He said, "Oh, you want to serve me? No problem." So he slapped his thigh. Thigh is called Uru. Slapped his thigh, and out of his Uru, Urvashi came. She is Narayana Duhita, Urvashi. More beauty and more alluring than Rambha, Tilottama, and Pratichi put together. They took one look at this Urvashi. They were stunned by her beauty, and they saw her extreme beauty, and they all fainted. So Narayana Rishi, he sprinkled water on them. What happened? Heart attack? What's going on? Has this happened to you all before? He said, no. We saw her and we fainted. He said, you saw her and you fainted. She's so good. If you are so weak, why did you come in front of me? I have her to serve me. I don't need you. But if you are so impressed with her, you take her with you. Take. So Urvashi went off and became an Apsara with them. He had no hope. That is the Purnata of Narayana Rishi. There is no avoiding one thing, and there is no staying away, and there's no closing the eyes, and there's no avoiding temptation. Entirely full. That is the fullness of Narayana. And to go from Shravana Manana to that fullness is the process of Nididhyasana, the last step in Atma Re Are Va Drishtavya. That is why I'm going away. Yajnavalkya says, because of Atma Darshanam, I want to be established in Atma Darshanam. I am leaving because of a place to do Nididhyasanam where I can be fully established in my fullness. That is the last step. And we will discuss that a little bit in the next class. So Ushaji, with that, I finished my presentation. And if you would like to have some question answers, can you help moderate whatever questions people might have? Ushaji, can you hear me? Looks like she's not around. So let me try to do this thing questions myself, which means I have to read these questions. Give me a second here.
Sir, I'm here, sir.
Can you please help with this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, my microphone was a little problematic.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
So, yeah. The first question is, what happens to Atma when one is fast asleep?
Oh. This is by an anonymous attendee, so I'm not sure whether they have attended a previous classes or not.
Yeah.
So may I tell them that I'm leaving out the last part of your question, when one is fast asleep. I'll just answer the other part of your question. Nothing happens to Atma. Whether you are asleep, you are awake, you are dreaming, nothing ever happens to Atma. It is. That is all. Something happens to it, and so it does something, and all that notion. Atma is vilakshana from all those very cannot put Atma in a sentence. You have to struggle to find the part of speech in the sentence in which you can interact, put Atma. So you cannot actually speak of Atma. So certainly nothing happens to Atma, and specifically, therefore, nothing happens to Atma when one is fast asleep.
Yeah. The next question is, need insight and examples for using the Neti principle. Also, is the principle to be used by self or with a guru? Neti, Neti.
Need insight and examples. So I had mentioned once before that the method of Vedanta is Adhyaropa and Apavada. So in that, if I say to you just generally, listen, Mr. Jagadish, use Neti Neti principle, just deny everything, that is too imprecise, because how will you know if you have really denied everything? What is everything? So first Vedanta says, well, let's first get common language on what is everything. So it explains everything. It puts a framework on entire creation, tells you how creation happens, this, that, what is the senses, what is the mind, everything is put into context. And then you examine one by one all those things, that is Adhyaropa. And then Apavada. Then you have to eliminate one by one all those things. And after you've eliminated everything, who remains? Only the eliminator remains. So that Neti Neti principle, I'm just giving you a real quick summary of what that is. You can't do it by yourself, just like Vedanta is not a topic for self-study. You do need a qualified guru, and you do need to interact with that same guru and study the Shastra for a period of time, and begin to understand what that Vedantic framework is. And then you will be able to practice Neti principle in whatever way is instructed by the Guru.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So the next is I have done unlimited Shravana, but I think I belong to that category who understands clearly but is not able to do manana and apply it in real life situations. What is the solution? This is asked by Kaushi.
Uh-huh. Unlimited Shravana, there's no such thing. Um, Ms. Kaushi, we are all in the process of doing unlimited Shravana, and it's a long process. Um, and everyone during Shravana looks like we understand, but when we try to apply, when the real question marks come in life question paper, we are unable to answer using Vedantic principles. Hence, manana is important. Now, you said I'm unable to do manana and apply it to real life situations. Manana, every time a real life situation comes, and if you fail, you have to contemplate why you fail and understand the precise question that you are unable to answer in that situation, which is why you failed. And then go back to Shravana and see what the Shastra says about that. Go back to the Guru and understand what he gives you a hint on how you should have applied there. And then you go back to the world and you let it give you another question. And now it's a new question. And again, you fail. Like that, you have to fail many, many times. And then slowly you will find, acha, slowly the question mark that life is asking you will repeat, questions will come. Sometimes, they give last year's questions and next year's question paper. That repeat question, when it comes, then suddenly you will find one day you can answer it. And then you say, acha, this is working a little bit. But just when you think it's working, a new question will come that you won't know how to answer. So that's the process. That is the process of growth in Vedanta. And I'm afraid you just have to deal with it.
Thank you, sir. If Purusha is one, why every one of us has to realize separately? BV, someone asked.
Mr. BV, Mr. or Miss BV,
Miss
I
BV, we
don't know.
don't
So
know.
yeah, I don't want to be presumptive. So, but um, if Purusha is one, why every one of us? Nobody has to realize anything actually. No need. Not only do we not have to realize separately, we do not have to realize collectively either. There's no need to realize. What you are experiencing is you're experiencing the interactions of anatma with anatma, of ahankara with the world of objects. That interaction of your lower nature with the world is puzzling you because it doesn't seem right. But that lower nature, that jivatma, is indeed a reflected aspect of Purusha, which is different in so many different ways. And so it appears that different people at the level of their ahankara is realizing separately. But what they are realizing is the pratibimba, the reflection of the same one Atma, and that one Atma doesn't need any realization. So to understand in this why everyone us has to realize separately, you have to understand the meaning of I and us and we has got so many higher and lower meanings. So you'll have to be able to carefully understand again, Manana, what these words mean, parse the question, and then parsing the question itself will make the answer clear. In fact, sometimes the question is more difficult. Question is not as difficult as the answer. So the question, clarifying the question is very important. Once the question is purely qualified, the answer is self-evident. I'm not able to recommend gurus in Bangalore, etc. So certainly not qualified to do that around Malleshwaram area. So there are many mathas, and not very far from Malleshwaram is Venkat sir, my teacher, um, who is the founder of the vyoma-samskrta-pathasala. So I recommend that if you could meet him, he will be able to give you Bangalore relevant tips. Yeah.
Um, During the process of reflection, it comes to mind that more and more svadhyaya is needed and not in a hurry for self realization. Can I be contented with present process?
Okay, contented is the worst thing that you can be, because you can never, if you are contented, you won't strive. Striving is important. You have to strive. One who's content never strives. So be content with the Vishaya situation, but don't be content on the count of Atma Jnana. There you show some real discontent. We show discontent more in the mundane world, and we are quite content with how much Atma Jnana we have, which is maybe pretty little. So, but if you're instead, in fact, the beginning of real sadhana is that real discontent with the state of my spiritual maturity. That real discontent with the state of my spiritual maturity is called Tivra Mumukshutvam. You need to have Tivra Mumukshutvam, which means you need to be deeply discontent with your current level of freedom. Then only will you move forward.
Thank you, sir. The next question is there any time frame for the Atman to get back into a physical
Oh,
body?
okay, sorry, I saw that question.
Yeah,
As I just told
anonymous.
from the beginning,
Yeah,
Atma cannot be put
cannot.
into any sentence which has got any verbs in it.
But,
So
right.
please, yeah.
So next is I want to know whatever we hear and practice in this birth, will it have a continuity in my next birth? I need not start from the scratch, and I can be rest assured that my number of births is getting reduced. Subba Lakshmi
Ah,
Bhagini is asking.
Subbalakshmi Bhagini is a good question. And you know, you are not alone in asking this question. You are got August company. We talked about Nara Rishi as Arjuna. Arjuna also asked the same question, saying that what happens next time for me? And cockroach, what if it's a cockroach? So Krishna says, no, don't worry. He says, if you practice sincerely, if you embark sincerely on the road of sadhana, then Suchinam Srimatangehe, you will be born in a place where you will carry on what you have learned this time, and you will develop the next layer and the next layer and the next layer over many births. So no need to worry, Subbalakshmi Bhagini, that you please see towards the end of the sixth chapter, Krishna gives the assurance. It's not merely me giving.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Next is last but not least, was Maitreyi allowed to join her husband for Atma Darshana? Moto G. So please write your name, Moto, sir. Please, we wish to have your name.
Mr. Moto Ji, Mr. Moto Ji has asked a very good question.
Yeah,
But
he's
you
asking so
see,
nice questions. He or she, we don't know, but please write your name so that we'll be acknowledging.
he told the name last time, but I've now
Oh,
also forgotten he or she
right.
also.
Okay.
Uh, so, but um, by the time Maitri asked this question to Miss Riti, see, it wasn't a he, it was
Yeah,
Miss
it's
Riti,
Riti
Riti
Bhagini.
Bagini. I will tell her that by the time Maitri asked this question of Yagnivalkya, husband, wife over, Guru, Sishya. Now you ask the same question. Is the Sishya allowed to join the Guru for Atma Darshana? What a question. So the question becomes irrelevant. Nobody joins anybody.
Hmm. Okay. So,
Atma is a supremely alone principle that everybody is established in. No need to join anybody. You don't have to hold hands and go to Atma. It's not like going for a cinema. Follow also, you don't have to go. You can go in front. Nothing. There is no going. Yad gatva na nivartante daddama paramam mama. Where there is no going and coming, that's where we are going, he says.
yeah. So, and there is that thing from Ariti Bhagini. So, following like it's a compliment. Following a few principal personal crises in life, I think this
Ah,
lecture helps me in retrospect to use the experience not as a punishment for what I deserve it, for a situation that I need to strengthen.
yeah, that the bhava, the bhava with which to receive life is something that is one of the key lessons that you get in the Upanishad and in the Shastra. The bhava, that the world as it is presented to you is your personal guru. Nobody receives the world in exactly the way you receive it, based on your prarabdha, your vasanas, your situation, etc. In that thing, that all that influences. This is the beauty of creation. So one creation, and yet every experience different. So there is a world that was created, and in that world is the world that you perceive. And the person sitting next to you, with whom you are holding hands and going to the cinema, so close to you, they are perceiving entirely different. And that perception is called in the Ishavasya Upanishad Jagatyam Jagat. Your likes and dislikes are creating a certain perception. That world, that is your world, is your guru. It has come to teach you. And it is an infinitely patient guru. If you fail the exam, no problem. Try again. Better luck next time. So that is the way. So that, Riti ji, it is a correct point that you have made.
Right. So someone who can teach in like around Bangalore, you can write to Vyoma Labs, Vyoma ID, that support ID, or sanskritfromhome at vyomalabs.in. So that gmail.com. So please write to one of our IDs. We will forward it to Venkat sir, so you can receive some guidance regarding that.
Very
Please.
good.
So
Very
this
good.
is for Shilpa Bhagini.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Very good. All right. Namo Namaha. We will meet again next Sunday. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Shankar.
Dhanyavadas. Thank you so much. Thanks to all the participants.